William Shatner and Anson Mount hilariously debate who really replaced Star Trek's original Captain Pike. Few legacies in science fiction carry as much weight as the captain's chair aboard the USS Enterprise. For nearly 6 decades, audiences have argued over which starship commander truly defined Star Trek. But recently, the spotlight turned to one of the franchise's quirkiest historical wrinkles. The fact that Star Trek's very first captain, Christopher Pike, was quickly replaced by Captain James T. Kirk. At a convention appearance, William Shatner Kirk himself and Anson Mount, who currently portrays Pike in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, playfully debated who really replaced who, sparking laughter and fresh appreciation for how each man left his mark on Trek's enduring mythology. Pike came first, but barely. In 1964, Gene Roddenberry filmed The Cage, Star Trek's original pilot, with Jeffrey Hunter playing Captain Christopher Pike. The episode wasn't picked up by NBC, and when Roddenberry was given a second chance, he retooled the concept. The studio wanted a new lead actor, and Hunter stepped aside. Enter William Shatner, whose Captain James T. Kirk became the defining face of the franchise. While The Cage sat on a shelf until 1988, pieces of it were reused in the 2-part TOS episode, The Menagerie, retroactively giving Pike a canonical presence. That quirk of history left a strange question dangling. Was Kirk replacing Pike? Or was Pike simply erased until future Trek series revived him? Shatner's case. Kirk is the only true replacement. At the fan event, Shatner leaned into his trademark theatricality when addressing the question. With his familiar, drawn-out pauses, he quipped, "Christopher Pike was there for a moment, and then gone. Who replaced him? Me. I came in, sat in the chair, and made it mine." Shatner reminded the audience that without Kirk, the series wouldn't have lasted more than a season. In his view, Pike was more of a test run, while Kirk became the engine that turned Star Trek into a cultural phenomenon. "I didn't replace Captain Pike," Shatner joked. "I replaced an idea of what the show could be. And I think we did all right." The crowd erupted in applause, not just because of Shatner's wit, but also because his claim holds historical truth. Star Trek became Star Trek because of Shatner's Kirk, bold, brash, and endlessly quotable. Mount's rebuttal. Pike was never truly gone, but Anson Mount wasn't going to let the legendary Shatner have the last word. With a grin, he counted that Pike's presence was like warp plasma, always running through the ship's veins. Mount pointed out that Pike's legacy has grown steadily over the decades. Bruce Greenwood portrayed him in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films, and Mount's own version has become a fan favorite thanks to Strange New Worlds. Technically, Bill, Mount teased, "You didn't replace me. You borrowed the keys while I was on shore leave." The line got one of the night's biggest laughs. Mount leaned into Pike's resurgence as proof that the original captain was always lurking in the background of the franchise, waiting for the right moment to shine. A debate without a winner. The playful back and forth between Shatner and Mount wasn't really about settling the matter. Instead, it highlighted how Trek's evolution allows multiple captains to coexist, each shaping the Enterprise in their own way. Shatner defined the archetype of the swashbuckling Starfleet captain. Mount redefined Pike as a thoughtful, empathetic leader whose kitchen table diplomacy and tragic fate add richness to Trek lore. What makes the debate fascinating is that both men are right. In broadcast history, Kirk replaced Pike. But in storytelling terms, Pike's return shows he was never erased, merely waiting for his chance to return to the stars. The humor behind the history. Fans loved that neither actor took the debate too seriously. Shatner, at 94, leaned into his role as a showman, happily playing the part of the swaggering captain. Mount, meanwhile, embraced Pike's quieter dignity while still throwing cheeky jabs at his predecessor. When asked by a fan which captain would win in an arm wrestling match, Shatner immediately shouted, "Kirk." Mount deadpanned. Pike would just cook him dinner until he surrendered. The exchange perfectly summed up their captains' personalities. One fueled by adrenaline, the other by patience. Why it matters to fans. The discussion speaks to a deeper truth about Star Trek. Its characters are endlessly reinterpretable. Kirk and Pike aren't rivals so much as different expressions of leadership. Kirk embodies risk, daring, and bravado, the qualities needed to launch a franchise into the unknown. Pike embodies stability, empathy, and mentorship, the qualities that resonate with modern audiences seeking a more collaborative kind of heroism. The fact that Shatner and Mount could debate the question with humor proves that Star Trek thrives on evolution rather than replacement. The Enterprise is big enough for both captains. Final thoughts. So who really replaced Captain Pike? If you ask William Shatner, it was James T. Kirk, boldly going where no one had gone before. If you ask Anson Mount, Pike was simply on a long detour before returning in triumph. If you ask the fans, the real